Okay, welcome to the first lesson, Analyzing Statistics. This is lesson 1 on measures of central tendency. We actually remember measures of central tendency from elementary school. When we first started talking about mean, median, mode. In data management in grade 12, we obviously want to talk about more sophisticated things than what we did in elementary school, but we're really talking about the same thing. What we're going to do here is that mean, median, mode, when is each most appropriate, although we don't rarely have to pick just one of them. On the report card they only give one number. They give the median for a specific reason, because they find that's the most appropriate measure. So we can talk about when each are most appropriate. You can calculate each measure for a set of data that is grouped in intervals, so that's a little bit different than actually just adding up the numbers. And you can give examples of data sets that have given measures of central tendency. What is central tendency? Mean, median, and mode are considered to be measures of central tendency due to their ability to provide a central value. So we're really looking at the tendency in the middle. Mean is most commonly known as the average. It represents all the data points, so it's the best when you want to look at all data points, affected by the value of each data point. If there's an outlier, if there are multiple points that are worth the same, that value is worth more. Population and sample mean are calculated in the same way. There's mu versus x bar. I don't want you to worry too much about this, but it's just showing that you can show this two ways. X bar is the way to say average if you're just looking at a sample, and we use this letter. It's a Greek letter mu. To represent average for a population, but it's still the same thing. It's just add them all up, divide by the total. Median is the middle number in an ordered list. It has to be ordered. If you have an even number of values, you cut the data in half, take the average of the two middle numbers. If there's an odd number of values, you really divide it into three categories: one for the first half, one for the second half, and then one for the middle, and the median would be 17. Okay, you're really just taking the middle number. Mode is the most commonly occurring in a data set. It can be multiple modes. There can also be no modes. And so that's just like if you have the same number coming up multiple times, but there's a tie, that would be multiple modes. No mode is like there's no number that comes up more than once. And so if there's every number comes up twice, there would be multiple modes, but if every number comes up once, there's no modes. Recall it's impossible for continuous data to have matching values if you got perfect precision. So what we more so talk about than mode, which is the most commonly occurring number, because that doesn't really mean a lot. We more care about what the modal interval is, and that's what we'll talk about in this unit. I won't ask you the mode in your culminating or on the test. I'll ask what the modal interval is, and that's actually more. It's just the interval that's the most represented. It's more beneficial. Mean's the best measure when you want every number, so you don't want to discount a number. So if you're looking at the average amount of points that a basketball player scores in a game, you don't want to cut out the game they don't want to cut out the game that they played really well. A student's average mark in a class, we don't want to cut out a unit because that's reflective of the learning that was done in different units. Median, when you want to find out the 50th percentile for rank comparison, so you want to find out who's in the middle. We use median to compare class sets often because we don't want an outlier pulling that class set. Outliers, whenever there's outliers that exist, we usually want to use the median because the outliers would skew the mean. Median mark in a class not skewed by a very low mark. Let's say an example. And the mode is the best when you have multiple modal intervals. It's really helpful to know if there's different groups represented. So often it's helpful to see, okay, if we just look at marks in a class, if you have multiple modal intervals, you can see possibly if those modes, one's high and one's low, then you can see that there's two groups represented. Imagine a class, we have like the teddy bear class, where high school kids are partnered up with smaller kids. If you looked at the heights in that class, you'd have two modal intervals, and it's just saying that you have two different groups in that class. So the modal interval does tell you a little bit, and we'll actually see that on a histogram the best way, but it does tell you a little bit of the story. Just the regular mode is when you want to summarize the opinions of the majority. So who was voted for the most? First example, if you have 8 students and their number of lates to class, we potentially want to look at, we're going to calculate the average. To calculate the average, we just add them up, divide them. Calculate the median. The median is going to show up in the middle of the 4th and the 5th data point. And that's not in the middle of 20 and 8. It's the middle of 1, 2, 2, 4, 5. It's the middle of 4 and 5, which is 4.5. We're not going to calculate the average right now, but the average is going to be higher because of the 20. And then the mode is the 2. It really doesn't tell you a lot. The best measure of central tendency is the mean. Is the median. The mean is skewed by that 20 number. So 4.5 best represents this class, the 8 students in this class. Class A and B. In the next day's folder, I actually did a video for that did this, calculating the mean, median, mode, and talks about the comparison of the two classes. I think the medians are actually the same in both classes, but the average in Class A is a lot higher. And then the modal interval is going to be just the highest interval. So you can watch the video for how to do that in Fathom. If you have data in intervals, potentially if you didn't collect the data exactly, but you just put it into intervals, you wouldn't have the raw data. So you have to make assumptions of what the raw data is, what the actual numbers that are collected are. So what we do is we assume that all the data is at the midpoint. So, for example, if you had 4 numbers between 0 and 5, you'd actually call that 4 2.5s. So as an example, when you're calculating the mean and the median, the median is just the number that's in the middle. But if you calculate the mean, instead of looking at this as 52 numbers, you actually look at a list of 52 that's 9 18s, 19 23s, and so on and so on. 28 shows up 15 times, 33 shows up 7 times, and 38 shows up twice. And you're not actually going to do 18 plus 18 plus 18 plus 18 and then divide the answer by 52. You're going to multiply 18 by 9, 19 by 23, 15 by 28, and so on and so on. To calculate the median, we just say, all right, if there's 52 numbers, we can cut that into 2 groups, 26 and 26. Wherever the 26th and the 27th number are, the average of those 2 numbers is what we want. 26th and 27th numbers are both in this category, so the median is 23. And the mode we can also say is 23, or we just say the modal interval is 21 to 25. Okay. Just a couple of reflection questions, knowing that you can use algebra to find a missing value if you have the mean. If you had 2 groups of data and knew the means of each group, when could you calculate the mean of the groups by averaging the means? When couldn't you? It's kind of a confusing question, but all I'm saying here is if you had 2 groups, like say 2 classes, the average of one class was 70, the average of one class is 80, does that mean that the average of both classes is 75? What has to be true for that to be true? Think about a small class and a big class. If you have a class with an average of 80, there's only 5 kids in it, and an average of 70, but there's 30 kids in it. Obviously, the average of the two classes is closer to the 70. Okay? And there's some more practice questions.